Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ozeki and this is The Midnight Reader. If you're new around here, I am a recent mom. I am a reader of all genres of books and an infrequent uploader because I have a tiny human. I am also a nurse in my real life. This is just my fun hobby because I love reading books and I love this little community of people who also love reading books. I thought I would do a tag I've never done before, which is the mid-year freakout tag. It's not on time, but it's close, and it's closer than I think I usually am with these sort of things. So those are the vibes. I thought I'd take the opportunity to do this tag, which seemed kind of fun, and also check in on my reading so far this year. I have read 38 books this year, which means I met my reading goal. I was aiming for anywhere in the 20 to 50 book range, with my goal being set at 35 books, which I have already passed halfway through the year, which I think is super cool. This is much lower than my usual average. My usual average is anywhere in the 60 to 100 book range, but because of parenthood, I thought I would aim that to a much lower, more realistic goal. 50 is bonus points, but I've already met my goal, so I'm already happy. I have no idea who made the mid-year freakout tag, but it's sort of like a booktube ritual, so I'll try to find out. If I can, I'll put it in the comments below, and I'm just going through the prompts that I found in other people's videos. So first up, number 1, what is the best book you've read this year? For me, that one was pretty easy to answer. The best book I've read this year was Braiding Sweetgrass by Wong Kimmerer. This is a nonfiction by a kick-ass indigenous biologist, and this is a series of essays about humanity's relationship with the natural world. She picks a topic that focuses on a plant like sweetgrass or wild strawberries, or a place like a pond, and she weaves her story about the wonderful biology based around that plant or place and mixes it in with partial memoir and heavier topics like the honorable harvest, how our current food systems have become divorced from the natural world. She talks about how environmental despair isn't an answer to our problems, being a teacher, and both the things that she tries to instill in her students and the things she has learned from them. This book made me cry multiple times in both beauty and sadness, and I'm only crediting postpartum depression with some of the crying. It was lovely. It was so good. I made a whole separate book review on it, which I will link up here if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts on the book. I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful read. Number 2, best sequel you've read this year. I read A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This might have been the only sequel I read this year, so this might just be an honorary title. This is the third book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, so it's the final book in the series. This is a fantasy fiction series focusing on a universe of multiple Londons, where each London is a separate world that are stacked on top of each other, and there are travelers who can travel between the Londons, like a needle through a stack of papers. The story focuses on characters who can travel between the worlds and obviously save the world. Worlds? As you do in fiction fantasy, obviously. This book was my favorite of the series, and I was rooting for a villain. Number 3, a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. This was going to be The Last Word by Taylor Adams, but I just read it. I'm gonna go with Strong Female Character by Fern Brady. This is a nonfiction memoir of the Scottish comedian Fern Brady. I loved her on the British TV show Taskmaster. Huge fan. She's a delightful little neurodivergent muffin, and I want to read her memoir. I already used my last gifted Audible credit on it. It will be read soon. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't know. I don't really follow book releases. I just don't. I usually just wait until a booktuber says, hey, check out this great book, and I go, wow, I had no idea that existed. I'm a nurse for my big girl job. That's basically all anticipation of problems and needs, so I refuse to do any additional anticipation in my actual life. I anticipate nothing. Number 5, biggest disappointment. This would be Elsewhere by Alexis Schaitkin. Look at this cover. Look at it. It's friggin' gorgeous. The colors, the artistry, it's gorgeous. And it's why I picked it up. It's supposedly a fiction dystopia that focuses on motherhood. Weirdly, I have read a lot of those this year. Lol. The idea is that once women become mothers, some of them get taken into a fog and they become nothing. They vanish. Metaphors. It focuses on a main character as she starts as a girl with a disappeared mother who grows up and becomes a mother herself. The women in the story are horrifyingly harsh in their ways of justifying and rationalizing why the other mothers disappear. So they'll say that they neglected their kids because the kid showed up with shoes on their wrong feet to kindergarten, or showed up with his old lunchbox instead of his new one. They'll say that some mothers were disappeared because they cared too much about their kids and they became over-invested in them. And that kind of sounds like an interesting book with interesting things to say on motherhood, except it wasn't. It felt like a book that was specifically written to win a Smart Literary Writing Award. The twist was so apparent so early in the story that when they did the reveal, I literally went, okay, but I knew this on like page 20. It wasn't a reveal at all. I found most of it really boring and badly paced, and I just didn't like it. I didn't find it engaging in the slightest. I think I rated it 3 stars, which is incorrect. This is a solid 2-star book. I'm too nice when I rate things. Great cover, bad book. Number 6, biggest surprise. This would be Momfluenced by Sara Petersen. I feel as though I didn't sing the praises of this book well enough when I did my wrap up. This is a nonfiction book that dives deep onto the specific internet influencer culture of momfluencers. I think it's a fascinating read to anybody who's interested by internet influencing, not just parents and moms. Interesting to anyone who is fascinated by our fascination with the picture perfect. The author talks about the commodification of the family life. She talks about how momfluencing is tied up in sexism, in race and class. She talks about why children being commodified and growing up in the public eye on the internet.com is so toxic. The first few chapters, I will say, are pretty name droppy as the author kind of talks about all the momfluencers she is obsessed with, but that quickly drops away and gets way more interesting. This was one of the most fascinating books that I have read this year. It influenced my thoughts quite a bit on how I want to be a mom on the internet, and more importantly, how I do not want to be momming on the internet. I am a mom, but I don't want to perform motherhood for the internet. It's a fascinating read. Number 7, favorite new author, debut or just new to you? I picked Ruth Ozeki. She's not a new author, she's just new to me. I read A Tale for the Time Being, which was also an impulse cover checkout at the library. I fell in love with her writing. I love how she weaves a world. Her characters and her story both felt so realistic, but also just was mixed up a little bit in the magical and the spiritual. I can't talk about it, but I'll definitely be picking up more books from her because I love the way she writes, and I think I read this directly after I read Elsewhere, and this struck me as a book that wins the fancy literary awards but isn't written to win them. Number 8, newest fictional crush. I scoured my book list and found no one. I don't have fictional crushes usually in general, even though I read a lot of romance. So I'm gonna go with a fictional platonic crush, character I most want to be in a platonic relationship with. And I picked Vera Wong from Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Sutanto. I love Vera Wong with my whole heart. She's an overbearing Chinese grandma figure. She's nosy, she solves crime, she cooks like a mad genius, and she does amazing babysitting childcare. I will take this strong grandma energy in my life. That sounds great. I would love to be friends with her. I'd also like to sneak in a little 9A question, which is, who was your least favorite character of the year? And that was very easy to answer. That was Achilles from the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, who, as far as I can tell, is a parade of red flags and has some serious mommy issues. He's an arrogant douche canoe, and that guy. For question 9B, who was your favorite fictional character? I'm gonna pick Gita from the Bandit Queens by Parini Schroff. Bandit Queens was one of my favorite fiction reads so far of the year. It focuses on Gita, who lives in a small village in rural India and has been abandoned by her abusive husband. But because he doesn't come back for the house or the money, people just assume that Gita killed him. And your girl just rolls with it because there are perks to being assumed a murderess, like people leaving you alone. However, Gita finds herself in some trouble when she realizes realizes that her skill set of offing one's husband is now in demand with the village women. I loved her character. She gives no fucks and takes no shit. She's abrasive, prickly to a fault, and swears like a sailor getting surgery. I love her and I want to be her friend. Number 10, books that made you cry. Since I already used my ugly crying book, which was Braiding Sweetgrass, I'm gonna give you an unexpected made me cry book, which was the thriller The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This is a thriller about a woman who writes a devastatingly bad book review or horror novel, posts it online, and then is stalked and attempted to be murdered by the author. The book scared me in places, it made me snort with laughter, but the reason why this is a book that made me unexpectedly cry is there is a twist reveal in here which is just so uncalled for. I took emotional damage. I screamed aloud in pain. I scared my husband. I threw my Kindle and I called my best friend to make her read the book as well so she could also take emotional damage. It's brilliant and I hate you, Taylor Adams. You hurt me. Number 11, books that made you happy. I picked The Constant Rabbit by Jasper Fforde. I just need to read more Jasper Fforde. I find his humor so sharp and witty and entertaining. This is a fiction book about life-sized humanoid rabbits that spontaneously happen and try to integrate into present-day Britain. It sounds silly, but it's also about current UK politics, Brexit, and present-day culture wars. It's got elements of 1984, Watership Down, Fahrenheit 451. It's brilliant, and I need to read his series Thursday Next because so many of you keep recommending it, and every time I pick up a book by Jasper Fforde, I start laughing out loud and I enjoy the hell out of it. Quickly becoming a must-read author for me. Number 12, what is the most beautiful book you have acquired this year? That would be this copy of Heidi, which I picked up at a local library sale. It is illustrated in full color. It has paintings in it. It's literally gorgeous. I've never read Heidi. It's one of my mom's favorite books, but I thought if I had a beautiful copy of it filled with illustrations, I might be more likely to read it. Question for my fellow book lovers who have read Heidi. Is Heidi a summer book or is Heidi an autumn book? Can anyone tell me what season they think that Heidi should be read in? But let me know. I've never read it and I don't want to look it up because it's been out forever, so spoilers abound. Number 13, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? So I'm gonna say that I have 2 left on my current beach reads list because I've read the rest of them, which I'm impressed by since I never read things that are on my lists. And that is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey and Heroes by Stephen Fry. I also have 1 book left on my yearly TBR goal list as well, which is The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. These are the 3 books that I have left to read for the year that I've put on lists. I'm also trying to read books from my TBR shelf, which is here. It occurs to me I haven't given you a book tour since I have dramatically downsized my bookshelf, and that's because I am disorganized. But I will do that. That will be an upcoming video. Then last question, number 14, who are content creators that you've been loving? So I'm just gonna take the time to shout out 3 booktubers who I watch constantly, and I watch all their videos. The first one is Kiara at Kiki's Bookish Service. If you like relaxing booktube, she is the queen of this genre in my opinion. Her videos focus a lot on her book journaling as she gives you lovely, insightful book reviews while drawing her impeccable designs for her bookish spreads. Next is Jay and My Quarter Life Crisis. Jay and I are friends in real life. I met her through booktube and she's my friend. Gotta say that at every opportunity to maintain friendship. Please go watch her. She's recently back on booktube after taking about a year-long hiatus. She's now leaning in to living her best life. She's currently in Colombia, solo traveling through the world and having a bit of a Jay-essence, as I like to refer to it. She's funny, insightful, delightful. Please go watch her channel. Next is Alex at Alex Black Reads. I love her channel. We have very different reading taste for sure, but I just always enjoy watching her videos. She's like a friend that I like to watch. I just like listening to her talk about things, and I think she does a really good job with her reviews. Please go check out her channel as well. So that was the mid-year freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed it. It was sort of fun to just do an easy tag video instead of an elaborate reading vlog. If you've made it this far in the video, what is your favorite book that you have read this year and most disappointing book that you have read this year? If you, like me, have not yet done the mid-year freakout, do not let the lack of mid-year scare you and consider yourself officially tagged. And please have at it and let me know if you do the video, because I love watching other people's videos. That is what I do with my time. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing to this little hobby of mine, and I will see you all next video. Bye.